Oregon football's got some big hype, big expectations in 2024. Are they worth it? Here we go.
You are Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Oregon Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is that time once again for Locked On Ducks. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your number one source to stay up to date with the Ducks. If you have not already, please like, comment, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to or watch this show. My man, Rian Winter, is back today. Sports Chat 503 in the house. He has just not been here recently enough, and that's my bad. That one is on me, but he's always grinding. A lot of you know his work over there, and I love having you on the show, Ryan. Appreciate it. Let's just hop right in. Do you think Oregon is worth the hype they're getting right now as we approach spring football in its entirety?
Yeah, I would say I'm buying into it. I mean, every year I think there's hype, and every year I try to hit the brakes myself just so I don't get let down. But I think that there's real steam here. I think this is a good. Everything about this team says they're on track. I know there's bits and pieces everybody wants to try to fix, or there's points, and they have to. Every year's a new year. They have to rebuild the whole thing every year. But I think it's more about reload than rebuild these days at Oregon, and they have done a great job in the transfer portal. They're absolutely abundant where they need to be, and oh man, I think the buzz is for real. And springtime, everybody's good. Everybody's awesome. Everybody's I always joke with the high school kids. It's like you're always good before you've played anybody, because you're only playing yourself in practice. Of course, the JVs are getting beat by the varsity. No kidding. And then you play your first game, you're like, I don't know if we're that good. And I think the Ducks are that team that is going to really go into spring ball with a great attitude. They've got two quarterbacks who are going to lead both teams. I think last year was really cool how they did the regular game. They're a good enough program to do that. There's some programs that are like, they're going to treat spring game like another spring practice because they just need more practice. The Ducks aren't on that level. They're looking to really do some things. They got a great schedule. It lines up for them a little bit, and I think it's real.
Yeah, I think that where they're at going into spring football, there are just so many things to feel good about. Nothing's perfect, but I got news for you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this Ducks team, there is no perfect team in college football. I bet you Georgia wouldn't even say that they're a perfect team. Kirby Smart was talking recently on Josh Pate's show about, the defensive line depth, and they've, of course, got receiving questions without Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers there offensively, so they've got guys to replace. And I especially like what you said, reload, not rebuild, because I think that's the reality for Oregon's expectations year in and year out, is every season should feel like a reload, because with the portal and the way that Oregon's expected to recruit, there shouldn't ever be a drop-off. And when there was, back in 2016, a change was then swiftly made. And I think that's, where Oregon fans expect to be. I think that's where the alumni and donors and just supporters of the program expect to be. And I think that's where Dan Lanning expects to be as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, imagine how bad it would have been in 2016 with the transfer portal the way it is now. There would have been nobody. It would have been like the women's basketball program.
Yeah.
I mean, it got into a tough situation, and yeah, now it's not. And look at how many guys they retained. Speaking of transfer portal, how many guys left? So it's like this is a great opportunity. Guys are coming back. They talked about all that with Terrence Ferguson. I thought he did a great job on the media the other day. I think that was kind of a common theme. Like, why do you come back? Well, you want to be part of something special. Well, why do these guys get recruited? Why do they come to a school? Because they want to be a part of something special. They want the playing time. They want, obviously, all the accolades, the bag, everything else. But they want something more than that. They want it to be meaningful. And these guys coming back for their senior season, they're painting their picture, man. These guys are Pablo Picasso out there doing their thing. And why not? You're healthy. You're stronger than you've ever been. You've got all the tools, and you've got a green light for your position, and you know exactly what you need to do. Very different than when you came into college, where it was like a whirlwind and it was going so fast. Now the game is slowed down, everything else. You can wait for that next whirlwind. That'll be there in the future for some of these guys. T. Ferg's definitely an NFL guy. And so it's like, why not come back and set, the tone at Oregon for one more year? But it's more about the culture. And I think that's the big thing. So again, big bills. What we all talk about in school these days is relationships. Got to build the relationships before you teach a dang lesson at all. And that's the thing I think is really great about this Oregon team right now. That's why I'm buying into the hype. more than even just the players. It's just the vibes on this team. It's like there's certain things you can feel as a coach where you're like, oh, this team's going to travel well. We're going to get some wins on the road. And I think that comes with camaraderie. That comes with trusting each other. And I think this team's on that.
Yeah, I think that I talked about this earlier in the week. The fact that so many guys that had NFL potential said, no, I want to be back for another year. Sure, for some positions like Bo Nix, the prior season in 2023, I think you can make a reasonable argument that NIL was a part of it. And I think the same thing went for guys like Michael Penix up at Washington. And I can't guarantee, obviously, and we'll never know. But I think for guys who, aren't going to be making the big NIL deals like the Jeff Bosses or the Jordan Birches, I'm sure they're getting some from Oregon's collective. But primarily the reason they came back is perhaps to make themselves better NFL draft prospects because they know this coaching staff can get you into that sort of position, but also because they know, hey, I'm an important part of what we're trying to do here and what we can do here. And yeah, last year, gosh, we're just a little bit short, just not quite there, but they were really close. And I think for a lot of those guys, Bossa and Birch and Tieferg and Johnny Cornelius and others, who have stuck around the program, whether foregoing transfer portal or NFL aspirations, I think they just know that, Dan Lanning is doing a very good job. He's a very good coach. And if they are an essential part of what the team needs to be in 2024, I don't see why they can't win the Big Ten championship.
Absolutely. And again, I think it's a top tier program right now. I think it's a team that's doing incredibly well. You said, it was that close, right? And I hate to be the guy that's like, it's April and I've already have now advanced past it, but you just brought me back to the feeling of losing to those Huskies again. And I'm thinking, okay, but hang on a second though. So you're telling me the Ducks lost twice, basically both on the road, right? One neutral site, one on the road in a crazy road environment. One of the craziest games I've ever been to in my life. And they lose by a combined 6 points. And then that Husky team goes and plays for the national championship. So how close are you? You are one of the best teams in the country. We don't need a ranking system to know. I can just play all these teams and be like, that team's really good. And like you said about Georgia, like not getting their thing. What did Saban always call it? Rat poison, right? When it's like, these guys are getting too many accolades. They're believing everything. They're reading the newspapers. It's like, coach, these guys don't even read newspapers. These newspapers aren't even printed anymore. Because it's all about that idea of you don't want to believe in yourself.
Because it's all about YouTube, Ryan. It's all about YouTube. No one's reading newspapers because it's all about YouTube. You and I know that as well as anybody.
It's on X now. Dude, it's just one of those things where it's like the more you focus on that sort of stuff, the more you can get lost in what actually got you there, right? And that was the whole win the day thing. That's the whole like stay on your grind deal or whatever. This team right now, I feel like has two things going on. One, I think it can literally say we're one of the best teams in the country, and then it can actually back it up with its play. And I think the other teams looking at the schedule, when they see Oregon on it, they know the caliber of team Oregon is and what kind of week they're going to have that week. So I think it's going to be a unique thing. I don't know if it's like Big Ten championship or bust, because I don't want to put myself in that sort of category, but I do feel like it's a legitimate argument that the Ducks are going to be there. And I wouldn't, if you were to go back and tell me this 4 or 5 years ago, that one, the Ducks are going to the Big Ten, I wouldn't have believed you. Two, the Ducks are going to go to the Big Ten and be one of the better teams coming to the Big Ten when USC, UCLA, and Washington are going. And the Ducks might be the best team of all those teams and be the best prepared for it. All this stuff is a fantasy to me, and it's all now happening. So congrats.
It's something, right? If you've got Ryan feeling optimistic, the wily veteran that I bring on here on the show, then you're doing something right, of course. And there's another piece of kind of preseason hype of sorts that just sounds crazy to say out loud, but is 100% real. We'll get to that coming up next. First, let's talk about our friends over at Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer.
Cheers to Robinhood. I'm over here with Vanguard. I should have been with them the whole time.
You should have been with Robinhood, Ryan. There's absolutely no doubt about it. That's the only mistake I've ever known you to make in your entire life.
Well, I didn't even know. I was a mistake. Now I got it.
Now you know. And now you know.
More importantly, I love the fact that you read that at normal speed. Normally, that's always read at like 10x. I can barely even understand what they're saying. Now I know.
And now you understand. That's exactly how we roll. Here at Locked On, Premier Service is indeed our priority. So, Ryan, here's something crazy, right? You talked about how it's crazy Oregon going to the Big Ten. They're going to be the best of all those programs and everything like that. That's wild stuff to say. I've got one that sounds wild, but is absolutely true. Oregon has got pretty substantially better national championship odds preseason than the Alabama Crimson Tide. How about that? According to our friends at FanDuel, Oregon plus 850 to win the title, fourth best odds in the country behind Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas. They're the last team that has odds lower than or better than Alabama, which are at plus 1,300. That, for those who don't understand how gambling odds work, when you're in the preseason, certainly you're going to have larger jumps between teams because it's, a longer bet and such. But 850 to 1,300. Look, some of that could be schedule driven because Bama's got to go through the SEC. But Bama's been in the SEC a while. And for the odds makers to say we think Oregon's got a better chance to win the national championship than Alabama in 2024, that's a crazy statement, isn't it?
It's got to be about transition, right? It is an absolutely crazy statement. Yeah, it just blew my mind. It literally just blew my mind. And I hadn't even thought of that. And of course, I'm not on the betting thing. I love going to Vegas and watching other people gamble. Very exciting to me. But for me, I just don't get the assignment. But to me, those long-term bets, I think there might be a lot of investment there. I think Bama might be in good shape. Who knows? Weird things happen after transition. It was such a Saban effect for so long. And the guy was treated like a freaking god over there. I mean, it's like when these, dictators get taken out. I mean, what happens? I mean, look. I mean, the track record is not great. So, not to say that Saban was a bad guy in any way, shape, or form. The guy was the GOAT. So it's like, I mean, good luck taking over for him. One, if you're DeBoer. Two, it's like, he's going to have a major transition going into that new conference. There's going to be kids there that don't really want to be a part of that thing, that don't really identify it as being the launching point that it once was to the NFL. Maybe that's gone over to Georgia. I don't know, man. It's a tough time for Bama. That's crazy that you said that, and I don't disagree with it. I think going into it, Oregon is a safer bet than Bama this year. Totally agree.
I think that Oregon's better at the quarterback position. I like
Jalen
Milroe, but I like Dylan Gabriel more. I think that Milroe, look, he's going to have the best offensive coach he's ever had in his career. That's unquestionably true. So I think that there's a greater chance that Milroe would take a bigger leap than what Gabriel could make coming to Oregon, because I think Gabriel, for the most part, is a very polished, refined product. And that guy is, by the way, one of the 10 best quarterbacks in college football. You look at the numbers last year, not a lot of guys completed almost 70% on a 10-win team for 3,600 yards, 30 touchdowns, 6 picks while running for 12 scores as well. I think that in Will Stein's offense, he fits quite well. Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus has been on the show before, and he's even higher on Gabriel than I am, who I think is good. Might be one of the, two or three, or probably is one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the Big Ten. But let's kind of shift over to spring football for the Ducks, which is back underway. Carlos McLaughlin not there, of course, he's moved on, but Oregon's running back room for 1 year at least is in really good shape. At some point, a move will need to be made so that you can recruit that position in 2025 and whatnot. But coming into spring football, Ryan, what are you most excited about with this Oregon team?
Well, I think it's really about just kind of seeing the defense continue to improve, continue to gel. I love the linebackers. I see things through the offensive line offensively, and I see things through the lens of a defensive linebacker and defensive end defensively. And I love both of those positions. You have in Mateo and Jordan on either side there that can work, or have them in a rotation, and then be able to have Justin Jacobs. This guy's an absolute stud, and his injury at the beginning of the year, I think, kind of hampered him a little bit. He hit the ground running just fine, but it was so much Jeff Bossa's team. And I think Bryce Betcher also had a great year last year in the middle. There was a variety of guys who were playing well there, but
Bryce Betcher, heck of a baseball player.
Dude, how good. I mean, again, bro.
He's so good.
I told him, I said, bro, you're the type of guy that is like a catalog. You're the type of guy that you order the guy out of the catalog, you get to the sports section. Ooh, okay, 5-tool. Yeah, no, having these guys in the defensive position, I think, is really good to see a lot of gel there, because that's where your veteran leadership is. I like to see guys use the spring for the right reasons, right? I think there's a variety of different things in the spring that I always get excited about. One, the brand new guys, you get to even see them for the first time in the jersey, right? You get to see what you have there, knowing that you probably won't see a lot of action on the field yet, but at least you get the spring to see kind of what you could see in the future, right? You see the transfers for the first time. That's super exciting, because these guys make a difference on day one. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. And then you see the guys who are going to make that jump, So for me, the one guy I'm looking for to really make the big jump is Benjamin Roberts. I think Ben is ready to go in the middle. I think he's kind of that next lineage of those guys that we brought in that era that's really taken off. I think there's guys in that class that are absolute studs and have gone against each other, like Dave Yulee, like those guys. I think are geared different, and I'm excited about those guys getting a chance. Other thing is cool about spring ball from the offensive line perspective is you get to see two different offensive lines, especially the way they did it last year, where they had two actual teams and they tried to have ones-on-ones or twos blended or whatever the case may be. That was really exciting to see as well, because you got to see a backup center who was last year Charlie Picard, but this year seeing Yapani out there is like one of my favorites. Like I don't try to play favorites, but I think Poncho's my new favorite Duck of them all, and his brother as well. It started with his brother getting in here, Feope, and now Feope's over on like the
he's a student kind of a student assistant on staff, which is kind of crazy, because I thought he had eligibility left, didn't he?
I think he's like more on the like medical red shirt continual kind of progress. Like I think it's not medical. I wouldn't say it's not medical retirement, because I think he'll probably still play, but I think it's more of like,
because he was a part of it was not the 14J package last year. It was the 14F package with Feope instead of Josh Connerly. Yeah. Feope was that extra tackle, and he was very, very good in that capacity.
And he was in rotation, and he played in rotation as well. Yeah, no, he got snaps last year, and I actually think the offensive line room is stacked.
Oh, so I think the offensive line depth is great.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth right now, and guys that came in to help out and everything else on the transfer portal, I think are going to make a big difference right away.
Yeah, I think across, like just thinking about the guys who are going to play the most on the O-line, left to right, I think you'll go Connerly, Harper, you'll have Poncho, Bedford, the Indiana transfer, Matthew Bedford, Johnny Cornelius, right tackle. But then guys who will rotate in, you'll definitely at some point, I would think see a Davey Yulee in there, who played probably more than people realized a season ago. You've got George Silva, who can rotate in
behind Harper at the left side. Yulee, he can go both ways, but he'll probably back up Harper.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if Poncho were to get hurt or have to come out, like if his helmet comes off or something, Harper, I believe, is slotting to be the backup center. He slides over, and then Yulee would come in and play left guard. And I think Yulee has done well. PFF has liked what they've seen from him so far. So I think that O-line is in good shape. Here's one I'm curious about, Ryan.
And Sean Stroller, who didn't get to play last year.
Right. Yep. East Carolina. Yep. East Carolina transfer. Yeah. Here's one for you, Ryan. In that jumbo package, with Feope not there to be the certified extra tackle, I'm just going to throw it out there. It's a jumbo package. Jaquan McCroy.
Yeah, he's jumbo.
That is jumbo. He is jumbo. When you look up jumbo in the dictionary, you see gumbo, a wonderful, wonderful concoction of food. Then you see jumbo, and it's just a picture of Jaquan McCroy.
And that's also a great place to put a freshman. That's a great place to get a freshman.
Connerly did it.
Exactly. So yeah, no, I think that's great. The other guy I would say is going to get some rotation this year is Kuika Rogers, is another Hawaiian guy.
I like that.
Yeah,
Like that pick.
He's a nice guy too. And again, all these guys are all like either roommates or they hang out all well together. These guys are all the poly team. Dude, I'm telling you, this has got a really good vibe. This offensive line group is really, really good. And I think the guys who work with that group are absolutely top notch. The coaches in that room are chef's kiss.
Yeah, I think Terry is just fantastic. And I think him being such a young guy, he's not even 30 years old yet, and having Mike Kavanaugh, who's been around for decades,
like
right there.
Wine,
that
dude.
that is like fine wine. I'm not a huge wine guy, but you know,
but imagine you were in the
imagine I was, or imagine if I'm having good wine. I'm very snobby.
Nose first, and then it's like, God, you look at it. You're like,
Ryan's the wine guy. Ryan is the wine guy.
Pinot Noir only though. Pinot Noir. I'm a Willamette Valley guy. You know me.
Yeah, of course. Welcome to Locked On Wine, by the way.
Locked On Wine. Yeah. If you want to come to my channel for some food chat, I'm over there.
Yeah. We've got some hoops talk because
please.
Both programs. All right, we got some things to say about both programs at the moment. We have questions, shall we say? Big questions. Here's a big question for all of you. Have you checked out Game Time yet? Because if you have not, you should, because you're missing out. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. So if you want to wait till the last moment to get tickets, boom, Game Time's the place to go with killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. And you can get tickets to more than just Major League Baseball. Save up to 60% buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you want. Game Time's got it, and you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem that code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
I am a sucker for the view from seat. It will
the view from seat is a high-end feature.
It is so good. The 3D model, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at, what does the ceiling look like from here? Okay, good.
Make sure you're not gonna wind up on that Twitter account that shows the most obstructed seats in college sports.
Dude. That's my guy. I've had him on my show. Dude.
Have you really?
Yeah, dude.
Of course you have.
Please have him on the college football one.
Okay, he's fit. I think he's doing a public service for everybody. That is,
he is.
That's a great public service.
So but the locked on seat though, I look down, see if they have a cup. I was just saying, does this seat come with a cup or not?
Yeah,
a cup holder.
Yeah, gotta have it.
I'll be a sucker for the view of the seat. Okay,
the view of the seat is fantastic, which is why you should check out Game Time. But let's get into basketball talk here, Ryan. Let's get the less pleasant out of the way, and then we'll end on a positive note here. Women's basketball is in a precarious spot, losing Kennedy Basham, Grace Van Sluten, and Chance Gray essentially all on the same day. There was a transfer that they brought in whose name is eluding me off the top of my head at the moment, but those were three highly touted recruits. They just had an unthinkably disappointing season. I mean, it's Matt Prame tweeted this out, and he was 100% right to frame it this way. It's almost impossible to think about where this program was 4 years ago. They were at the top of college basketball. They were going to win the national championship. They beat Team USA, because they had Sabrina and Sabali and the whole gang, and it was a squad. And they have gone from the absolute mountaintop to I don't know how else to describe this year other than rock bottom, because they lost, 14 straight to end the year. Ryan's holding up is that the 2019-2020 women's basketball roster?
That's what they gave.
That was that was just a bunch of squads.
Dude,
I would also
didn't even play. Prince didn't even play.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sedona Prince
On the
got
bench.
yeah
6'7".
yeah yeah, and she was awesome. But what do you make of where Kelly Graves is at? Because I think that it's strange. It's bizarre to see a guy that took a program that, doesn't have the richest tradition of winning necessarily. Like all the winning for women's basketball in my lifetime has been with Kelly Graves at the helm. And this season they just really, really bottomed out. And I honestly, I watch a fair amount of it. I follow it. I don't know what to make of it right now.
I think there's a lot of things going on. And I think there has to be to get in that direction. I mean, I'm wearing the Sabrina gear. I mean, I love.
Also, real quick, Ryan, I'm not trying to tick anybody off because I think Caitlin Clark is awesome, but Sabrina walked so that Caitlin Clark could run. All right, continue.
Yeah, well, and that's fine. I'm from the Cheryl Miller era. I don't want to date myself here, but Cheryl,
the OG.
The OG, yeah. No, I think there's a lot of things going on. I think one, I think Kelly Graves is a great coach. He's not forgot how to coach. This happens to teams sometimes where you climb to the mountaintop and it doesn't work out for you because of COVID. And then a variety of other things that you never got that same buzz. He was pretty close to not getting Sabrina either, right? And Sabrina kind of came at the end there. The story of Sabrina is kind of the classic, right? She didn't tell anybody.
I did not know that.
Oh, the Sabrina story is wild because she just showed up at Oregon. She just showed up at the practice, and he turned around. He's like, "You're playing for?" She didn't do an announcement or anything. She just showed up to practice. Her dad and her just got in the car and drove to Oregon, and she decided like at the last minute. She was like, I think I'm just going to go to Oregon. She just was like, drove to practice. So the thing is like,
that's insane. That's actually insane.
It is. You should look this up. It's a cool story the way she tells it. But like so if she doesn't come, what happens, right? It's not, that team was still stacked, but you're right. Oregon has never really been the destination program for women's sports. And I do think, and not to be like gender biased or gender specific here, because I know we're in the era where we don't want to be too much, but I'm a youth coach and I've coached for a long time and I've been around high school kids for 25 years now. Girls programs are cyclical sometimes, and they rely around engagement to friends being on the team, to wanting to be a part of that group, and to really locking in. And I'll give you an example. The women's basketball team for Oregon State last year is a perfect story, right? The year before, they get bounced, and they're like, you know what? Let's lock in and let's just like play together. And they like went to the rec. They went to the Dixon Hall or whatever it is, and they just played and played, and they got really, really in sync together. The whole rest of the conference didn't know that. None of the media knew that. They got picked 10th to start the year. They were one of the best teams in this conference, and this was one of the best.
They wound up in the Elite Eight, and it wasn't by accident.
But there's one of the best women's basketball conferences in the country.
Yeah. No, it's the best. It was the best.
I think it was the best this year. And every week was a gauntlet. And these girls played great. And no one expected it. So I think things can change really quickly. I also think that it can change for the bad and it can change for the good. So I tend to think positively. I still believe in Kelly. I think there's good things going on there. But everybody gets older. And at some point in time, your time is kind of passing you by a little bit. Not that the game is passing us by. Not any of that sort of stuff. It's just the connection. For me personally, I've been a teacher for 20 years. I don't have the same connections I had with students 10 years ago. It's just facts. I'm a better teacher because I know more, but I don't have that connection from youth. Don't have that sort of thing. And it's like you just said about Coach Terry. What if Coach Terry was 59? You know what I'm saying?
Malik Terry, the offensive line coach.
Yes. Yeah. And to go back to that kind of saying like how cool it was to have that young coach. I did the same thing. We didn't talk about Coach Laughlin very much, but I think the next running back coach will be younger, right? Coach Laughlin was older. And so it's like, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of things going on for the girls program. I do think, though, you bring in 2 good freshmen and you bring in some other players. And
they have a 5-star point guard coming in.
Yes. And you bring in some transfers, and it can change quickly. At the same time, the conference that they're going into is known for some really good women's basketball, too, historically. Yep. So they're going to have their hands full no matter what. But I do think that over there, women's basketball is maybe a little bit more respected than it is out here, media-wise. And I do think that they'll be in okay shape.
I mean,
men's ba-
the Pac-12 was
yeah.
about as good as it got in women's basketball, and thankfully they won't have to go against Caitlin Clark in the Big Ten.
No, but men's basketball, I think, was completely rescued by just that tournament run. Because
I thought it was huge.
Had they not done that tournament run, we'd be talking the same thing about people would be talking the same thing about Dana this year. Oh, you didn't do it again. You didn't do it. I mean, and because that noise was already happening.
But okay, so I agree. The conversation would be different, and I think the momentum, the galvanization, the reassuring fans, I think all that took place with that Pac-12 tournament and brief NCAA tournament run. Like they should have been in the Sweet 16. Do they win that game against Tennessee? I don't know. I don't know, but I do know that they were every bit as good as Creighton was. Should have won the game, didn't. Okay, but like the season ending that way was such a huge success, and I think the momentum that it created, because it was seen a little bit as starting to fall away, was Dana losing his magic, and then it was like, oh nope, he lines Rubik's cubes. That's what he does. But here's the thing, Ryan. I felt that way, and I think a lot of basketball fans did when the season ended like that, and it was so thrilling and so fun, and Kuznard and Dante playing their butts off, and they got to play in the tournament. I'm so happy for those guys. And Kuznard doing it in front of his grandma, just icing on the cake. Here's the thing, though. They've had Brennan Rigsby transfer out, Oquendo, Kuznard, and Dante gone to eligibility. They haven't added a transfer yet. I'm not saying it's chaos time, but like that's a question I have right now. You're going to have to add transfer. They have one high school recruit, and it's a 6'8", 3-star center who I don't know how much exactly they're expecting of. So portal moves have to be on the way. I don't know when, but it's got to be sometime.
Yeah. And Dana's, I think, comfortable with the portal. The way he's always worked, I think he
likes a JUCO. He likes his JUCO guys.
He likes a JUCO guys are hungry.
Yep.
He remember when he at the end of the year was frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I'll go coach at JUCO." He says those guys are hungry.
Those guys are dogs, is what he said.
Those guys are dogs, is what he said. Dude, I love you, Spencer. I'm telling you, the idea behind Dana is just very simple. He just wants good basketball to be played hard, and the harder you play, the better you're gonna play. Your better results are gonna be, and that's why people don't like the NBA now, is because the guys don't play hard. Guys get
sometimes they just don't. Sometimes they just don't play.
Don't play at all. But these guys are getting triple doubles in the first half, and so it's like these guys from previous generations are like, what?
Yeah,
I was getting thrown to the floor for what? And so again, as things change, you got to adapt. I think Dana's done a pretty good job adapting, and I think that when everybody else zigged, he zagged a little bit, and I love the way that he leaned in with Dante. And I thought it kind of did almost like David Shaw with Stanford those years, where he's like, you know what? We're not going to be able to run with you. We don't have enough guys. We got to tighten this thing way up. We're going to slow this game way down. We're going to do that little press thing just to kind of control the clock a little bit and slow you down a little bit. Not even to really try to steal the ball, because that takes too much energy from us.
Oh, I love token pressure.
And then the token pressure. And then it's like a video game.
From what I see in college basketball, like you can't do it in the NBA. Guys are too big, too fast, too skilled, and whatnot. But in college basketball, there's no reason to not do token pressure. It requires minimal effort.
In high school as well.
Yeah, and it takes at least 7 seconds off the shot clock.
And high school has shot clock now as well. And so it's like the idea is you're just trying to stretch those guys out. And to be honest, most of those guys only want to work with 13 seconds on the shot clock anyway. So it's like the way these modern offenses work, all it is just a pick and roll, or it's a screen, or it's a little bit of a cut, or a little bit. I mean, it's a little shimmy shake with the dribble, and you're trying to, or just step back three. Wait the entire shot clock just to go step back three. Oh, Lord. Anyway, I do think the big question next year is, who are you going to dump it down to? If
Nate Biddle, maybe.
Well, Nate is still one of these guys that likes to stretch. He's really good from.
But he can play inside.
Oh, he's good. No, he can play from a variety of places.
But is he Dante? No, he's not Dante. Nobody's Dante.
He's not this guy, and clear it out. Dante was kind of like Dream. He was a little like Keem Olajuwon this year. He played so well on both sides of the floor. He felt a little bit like Dream. And again, Keem Olajuwon, for people who knew, was a different type of center who was a very athletic center, but incredibly strong. And Dante was just so strong in the middle. And Nate's not really that guy. Nate's a 7-footer. Nate can stretch it a little bit. Nate's got good moves down low. He'll kind of shoot the little jumper over you. but Dante was over the top of you. He was gonna hand mini Shaq type, right? He was just strong.
Yeah.
I don't think
That's what he was. He just bodied people out of the way. Like his footwork was.
Everybody fouled him.
Yeah, his footwork was solid and everything, but mostly just back guys down, kind of shouldered them out of the way, and then just went up and finished or dunked the basketball. But I always thought he was at his best when they were running the pick and roll with him. I thought that
because closing out to the hoop, get out of his way.
Yeah, and I think that they really leaned into that down the stretch. Kuznar, Dante pick and roll is the best play. And guess what? They ran it. They ran it quite a bit. But I know the portal moves are going to arrive. There'll be one or two JUCO guys. I just don't know who. I just don't know when. But we'll just have to wait and see. Rian Winter, Sports Chat 503 on YouTube, on X, formerly known as Twitter. Ryan, always great to talk to you, my man.
Good talk with you, man. Thank you so much, all the Sports Chat fans and Locked On Ducks. Let's go, Ducks.
Indeed. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, a great weekend, and as always, go Ducks.